Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're stepping into a completely wild, uniquely surreal universe known as Banalotopia. Now to be clear, this is definitely not your typical story of spandex-clad saviors and world-ending stakes. Nope, instead, it's this brilliant satirical exploration of what actually happens when the grandiose, over-the-top tropes of comic books crash headfirst into the aggressively boring, day-to-day realities of modern existence.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I mean, we've all seen the blockbuster movies, right? The ones where literal gods fight cyborgs to save the multiverse. But imagine for a second, what if those exact same characters had to deal with missing paperwork, or getting stuck on wait lists for evening classes, or dealing with overbearing middle management? Well, that is the central premise of Banalotopia. It takes the absolutely epic and just perfectly fuses it with the mind-numbingly dreary.
You get this intense visual whiplash right away. We're dropped into this beautifully rendered, gritty, rainy cyberpunk city. It's exactly the kind of high-tech, dystopian setting you'd expect to see a brooding vigilante standing over. But then, you look a little closer at what they're actually selling at this futuristic neon food stand. It is literally sausage made of shit. Right out of the gate, this universe hits you with a hilarious contrast between a visually epic environment and the depressing, incredibly low-stakes reality of the people actually living in it.
Section 1. Superheroes in an everyday slump. Let's see how this plays out with our so-called hero.
So we have the narrator desperately trying to hype this guy up. He's calling him Super Sam, making these grand comparisons to Superman soaring over obstacles with boundless confidence. But then you see the actual reality of the situation. He's just this pale, deeply unconfident imitation wearing a sort of bug-like red suit, depressingly trudging along a dreary concrete balcony. His grand, overarching mission in life? It isn't saving the world. He's just trying to reach the middle of society. It's like looking at a faded, bargain bin knockoff of a hero.
And the meta humor they use to highlight his mediocrity is just brilliant. Super is constantly, hilariously confused about his own fictional universe. He legitimately can't keep Marvel and DC characters straight. He admits he's supposedly with DC, but he totally struggles to remember who is actually in the Justice League right now. At one point, he even asks if, quote, that guy, Batman, is still active on the roster. It just completely shatters any illusion of superhero camaraderie.
Section 2. Villain interns and workplace safety. If the heroes are struggling this much, what on earth are the villains up to?
Well, that brings us to Trophanos. Now, physically, Trophanos is this formidable-looking metallic cyborg. You'd absolutely think he's plotting global domination, right? Wrong. Instead, he's stuck managing his two brand-new supervillain apprentices, Dion and Vangelis. And exactly like any teenagers in the first year of a trade apprenticeship, they are completely unenthusiastic and totally glued to their smartphones. The visual irony of this menacing cyborg trying to assign mundane homework to apathetic teens is just comedy gold.
And the evil commands he gives them? Completely mired in red tape. He tells them to go attack our hero, Super, but he has to lay out these strict union-style rules. They can attack a maximum of 3 times a week, and absolutely no attacking on Thursdays because the kids have to attend their trade school. Oh, and they also have to complete a mandatory workplace ergonomics course. Why? Because Trophanos is terrified of the German Workers' Compensation Board breathing down his neck. So yeah, evil plotting takes a total backseat to proper desk posture.
Section 3. The bureaucracy of androids. This administrative nightmare spares absolutely no one.
So, the crucial point is this. Imagine standing out in the freezing rain, holding a phone up to your literal monitor for a head. This local android is trying to get an update on his application to join the Avengers. But he's stuck in the absolute worst kind of bureaucratic nightmare. He's getting rejected because he forgot to include his birth certificate. And when he logically points out that he already sent a link to his origin story back in episode 8, customer service tells him he needs to print the video out, fax it over, and provide a certified copy. It is an infuriatingly relatable scenario. And the poor guy's frustrations just keep escalating from there. First, the ridiculous paperwork rejection. Next, he tries to get a modern upgrade to generative AI, but the tech guy informs him it won't work because he's running on a Bakelite processor from 1912. The absolute best they can offer him is a chess upgrade. So desperate for a new skill, he tries to enroll in a 30-day robot-to-car class, which is basically a Transformers evening course. But of course, it's completely booked up, and he's stuck on a waitlist for 2 whole months.
All of this triggers a massive identity crisis. I mean, he can't join the X-Men because he's a machine, not a mutant. And hilariously, while the Justice League actually would take him, he flat out refuses.
He calls them a cucumber squad, which is this great German slang term for a hopeless ragtag group, saying he has absolutely zero desire to hang around with Aquaman and Wonder Woman. Ultimately, he realizes he'd rather just stick to what he knows and hang out with his perfectly mediocre friends.
Section 4. Perfect in imperfection. Let's bring this all together and see what these characters actually do when they aren't fighting bureaucracy. And this brilliantly illustrates the real core of Banalotopia. We see Super, the supposed hero, and Turfanos, the supposed arch-villain, peacefully fishing together on a little motorboat. All of those epic rivalries, all that mortal combat, it completely dissolves into just mundane, relaxing, leisure activities. They aren't mortal enemies at all. They're basically just weary coworkers taking a break from the grind.
Later on, we even catch them sitting together at the local hero bar, just casually throwing back a few beers. They're bantering about their off-screen fights like guys in a weekend bowling league. Turfanos is gloating, saying he defeated Super 6 times this week, and Super only won twice. And Super, he just shrugs it off. He tells him to relax, says everyone just has a few shit days sometimes, and offers to buy the next round. The grand, cosmic battle of good versus evil is quite literally reduced to friendly bar tab banter.
When it comes down to it, despite their sci-fi origins and superhero suits, the reality is incredibly ordinary. Picture this beautifully bleak scene. Heroes and villains alike just aimlessly hanging out on a children's seesaw in an empty, foggy parking lot. They aren't out saving the universe, and they certainly aren't trying to destroy it. They are just perfectly content in their shared mediocrity, happily passing the time together.
The source material actually wraps up with this surprisingly wholesome song that summarizes their entire philosophy. The lyrics basically declare that everyone is good at something, and yeah, maybe bad at something else, but ultimately, we are all the way we are, and that is perfect. They sing about being superheroes while totally and completely accepting their utterly banal, average existence. It's a really strange but honestly beautiful kind of self-acceptance.
Which leaves us with a real question to chew on. Banalotopia strips away all the explosive special effects and dramatic lighting to show that underneath it all, even heroes have to fax their paperwork. So, are we all just super in our own perfectly mundane, bureaucratic ways? Maybe the real superpower isn't flying or having laser vision, but just surviving the waitlist for the evening classes of life. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep looking for the epic in your own everyday routine.